thrive when we give the youth a platform to engage locally and make a difference. I'm now here with Braden and Ema from Dublin's Youth Advisory Committee to talk about just that. Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, what purpose does the Dublin Youth Advisory Committee serve?
So the Dublin Youth Advisory Committee is this committee of 16 members of all Dublin youth from various Dublin schools. And essentially what we do is that we give the input of what the youth would like in Dublin. So the good thing about having everyone from all these different schools is that generally the youth are in schools, which means that we can kind of have all of their opinions gathered together. And then once we gather all their opinions together, we can present them at city council or other committees or whichever organizations are relevant to their ideas.
I love that. That is so cool, Braden.
Thank you.
Now, being a part of the youth yourselves, I would like each of you to answer what local issues or topics, not necessarily local, what's on your mind? What's on your mind in the Dublin youth? Ema, you want to start that for us?
Oh, yes. So what I've noticed in the youth is we've had like this big issue with mental health recently, especially coming out of quarantine and even the years after that, especially because of like academic pressure, harsh circumstances because of that, and also like home stuff and other circumstances that can just lead to like mental health struggles in our entire like youth community. So I'd like to address that in the Youth Advisory Committee.
That's awesome. Braden, what about you? What do you think is on the mind of Dublin youth? You specifically, since it's your mind we're talking to.
Sure. So basically, one other thing that's kind of on my mind is kind of about the arts about Dublin. Mm-hmm. For example, like our Dublin Benefit Concert in the Youth Advisory Committee. It's like we kind of give a lot of youth an outlet to provide their arts and bring the sense of community together in these kinds of concerts. And at the same time, what's good about it is that we can kind of raise funds to put into various other kind of projects. For example, our Dublin Mental Health Panel or any other Dublin organizations that could really use that kind of funding.
Oh, I love that. So recently you held your third annual Youth Mental Health Forum, Ema. I understand you were a big part of that. Tell us about the significance of this event and how it's helped those who are involved.
Yeah, so like what I was saying before is that we have like this big issue in Dublin and we need to address that. So through the Youth Mental Health Forum, we were able to take those who were struggling and give them an outlet to tell their stories and also find help from other people who've gone through the same things while also reducing like the stigma surrounding mental health. And I think it's built a lot of like strength in our community, and I've seen a lot of people cry there, so I know that it means a lot to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to stop acting like mental health is a dirty word or something that shouldn't be as important as our physical health. And your mental health affects your physical being. So thank you so much for making that such an important part of the committee. So recently, many Dublin-based clubs and organizations applied for the committee's Youth Mini Grant Program.
That's
What's
correct.
that all about, Braden?
So the Dublin Mini Grant Program is our way to directly reach out to these organizations. Basically, they can kind of apply to the Youth Advisory Committee with their proposal about what they would like to do if they had X amount of money. And then what we essentially do is we kind of review their proposals, see if it's doable, if it's possible, and then we think, oh, this would be really nice to have in Dublin. And then basically we kind of just have them present their projects to us if we think it's pretty good. And if we really like it, then we give them their grant. And then they can kind of show us how like, oh, this project was really a good idea. And then they can reapply next year if it was a really successful project.
That is so cool. That's neat. I love that. So the committee also holds the Dublin Benefit Concert every single year. What does this concert do for the Dublin community?
So basically our Dublin Benefit Concert is to support the Dublin Fees Assistance Program by having youth and senior performers at a benefit concert. And you can apply to be in this concert online. And I think the deadline is around March. Oh no, I think March. But yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so what type of performance? Does it have to be music since it's technically a concert? Would your talent have to be music to be involved, or could you do stand-up comedy? How does the formatting work for somebody that's going, I have talent, I want to be in this concert?
I would say generally, I think we've had only musicians.
Yeah.
But having stand-up comedians or like maybe dance would be an interesting addition to see.
I just think it would be fun. I mean, I'm certainly not a Dublin youth, but I think it would be fun to see different genres or maybe a comedian to open and a dance ensemble to end or something like that. Okay, I'm not on the committee. I'm sorry. I'll stop. So where do they go to actually apply, or where do they start the segment? Or where do they go to get the information about the concert and to start applying for the concert?
Yeah, there should be an application opening in about late January, I believe.
Okay.
And then it should be on the website. We'll probably have like a link to it.
Perfect. I'm sure you'll make it very, very clear everywhere on all the socials, because that's where the youth are. We do have to take a short break. Stick around to find out what it's like to serve on the Dublin Youth Advisory Committee. Welcome back to Conversations. I'm here with Braden and Ema to talk about how Dublin students can join the Youth Advisory Committee. Thank you both for being here. So applications are opening soon for people to join. Can you give us the details?
Sure. So for applications for the Youth Advisory Committee, they'll be opening on February 23rd, 2024, and they will be closing at March 29th at exactly 5 p.m. And essentially, one new thing we're doing this year for applications is that for any prospective members, we allow them to kind of sit in on our March 22nd meeting. It will be at 7 p.m. at the Dublin Senior Center. And then it'll kind of give anyone who's interested in joining a sense of what the committee does, how much responsibility or how much effort is needed to actually be on the committee.
I love that idea. It's great. So who's eligible? When should we apply? And how long is the term? Ema, I'll give you those 3 questions.
So any student who's middle school, junior high, or high school is allowed to apply. And our deadline is March 29th at 5 p.m. And please do not be late on your application, because we do not accept any late dates. So like Braden said, I would really recommend sitting in so you could see if you want to do this, because the term is 1 year. So I would recommend sitting in, seeing if you like it, and then trying it out then and applying.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So what are the duties of a committee member?
Sure. So the duties of a committee member, most of them for each month is to kind of arrive at this committee meeting every single month. This year it was on every 4th Wednesday of the month, but next year it will be on every 2nd Wednesday. And essentially what happens is that we kind of discuss any projects that we're doing for the Youth Advisory Committee and kind of see what the progress on that is. For example, our Dublin Benefit Concert, our Dublin Mental Health Panel. And essentially we just kind of make sure everything is on track. There's nothing that needs to be addressed. And mainly if we need to make any decisions on anything, for example, the mini grant, we also kind of do that during those meetings as well.
Nice. I like that. So I'd like to know from both of you, let's start with you, Ema. Why did you decide to be a part of the committee?
Oh, so I wanted to be part of the committee because through like elementary school, middle school, and high school, I've always been in these leadership programs which were only associated with school. So I was kind of limited to what the school wanted to do, like school events. And through the Youth Advisory Committee, I was able to like expand on just being involved in my community and being able to help Dublin as a whole instead of just like my school.
I love that.
And that was my favorite part of just being part of the Youth Advisory Committee, was like getting those new experiences, meeting new people, and just helping create like an enriched youth community.
I love that. So that sounds like that was a very rewarding part of the experience for you, Ema. Braden, why did you decide to be a part of the committee, and what do you find so rewarding?
For me, it was mainly because I kind of go to one of the smaller schools in Dublin, so I realized that there wasn't much representation going on for us. So I kind of wanted to make sure like our voices were heard, and then especially since now that the new Emerald High School is being built in Dublin, I want to make sure like everyone there can kind of represent their voices, have their voices heard, and if they want any changes within Dublin for the youth, then they can kind of make that change.
That is so great. And what's the most rewarding aspect of being a part of the committee?
I think a lot of it is just meeting a lot of the youth around Dublin. Just kind of getting to see what they enjoy, how they kind of like Dublin.
Yeah, it increases your circle of community as well, because you usually just know the people at your own school, but now you're knowing all these other Dublin youth from different high schools, and maybe finding things that work for them and don't work for other high schools. And I just think it's such a great thing. Now, do either of you have aspirations to be in politics? Is that what this committee is about for either of you? Ema, let's start with you.
I do want to be in like government in the future and maybe politics soon, but I think the youth advisory was like just like a small step in the journey, and it was really helpful seeing how like bylaws and procedures and
Yeah.
how all the agendas work and the meetings. And I think it's really helpful in like what I want to do in the future.
That's awesome. What about you, Braden? Are you going to be a politician, you think?
For me, I guess I'm not too interested in the politician road, but I am quite interested in kind of learning about how politics works from
Yeah.
being in the Youth Advisory Committee, which is probably another reason why I joined.
Yeah, that's so great. I love it. So, why should someone join the committee, and what type of Dublin resident is perfect for this role?
I would say anyone who's kind of interested, who has any opinions that they don't believe is being enacted within Dublin, that would be perfect for them to join the committee. And as for what type of Dublin resident, I would say as long as you're willing to contribute, as long as you do have ideas, then I think you're someone who's able to join the committee.
If you've ever wanted to be like on Shark Tank and turn down people for their mini grant proposals, maybe that would be a lot of fun. So, where can we go to find out more about what the committee is doing?
So a lot of what the committee is doing is also available on the Dublin Instagram and like social media profiles, but we also have a site which shows like our meeting minutes and like who's on the committee as of right now, which will be on dublin.ca.gov. And I think we have also a email that you can contact us by, which is like theyouthadvisory@gmail.com.
Dublin, California.
Or Dublin.com.
Okay, so youthadvisory@dublin.ca.gov, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So that's how we could contact individual community members. So say there's somebody who's in one of the high schools and they say, I want to do this, but I want to talk to you about it before I go to the meeting. They would just shoot you an email and ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Or the
Love
other
it.
the other good news about having like a bunch of different high schoolers in all of these, or different high schoolers and middle schoolers in all these schools, is that you can kind of just reach out directly to them,
Oh,
and
cool.
they'll bring it to the committee.
Yeah, all right. I like that a lot. Braden, Ema, thank you so much for being here. It's
Thank you
really
so
been a
much.
pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us.